I'm going to be talking today about my three-step framework to real estate success. Now, before I start, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Param. I am a radiologist in Southern California. I'm a mom and a real estate investor with close to 300 million in assets under management. And I've built a community for physicians who want to invest in real estate called Generational Wealth MD. And we are about 20,000 physicians strong at this point. But a few years ago, just like you, I was primarily investing in the stock market till I had a rough career transition. I was burnt out and I realized that I did not want to be trading my time for money for another 20 years, working 40 hours a week, not being able to spend a lot of time with my kids. Before I got to the point where I was financially free, had security or autonomy. And in order to shift that, I started investing in real estate. I started scaling rapidly. And in a few years, I was able to shelter the majority of my clinical income from taxes, generate 6 figures of tax-free cash flow from my portfolio. And at the age of 41, I quit my job. And since then, I have had time freedom, geographic freedom. I travel extensively with my extended family. And I've been able to build, a community where I can help others do the same thing. I've been able to work on our nonprofit, which helps children with disabilities in rural India. And I've built this legacy. I would have had to wait 20 years to do it if I had not gone down this path, which is why I am super excited to share my 3-step framework, which I hope will help you if you're either looking to buy your first rental or you're looking to scale and set yourself up for real estate success. Okay, so let's get started. If you have not signed up for the 3-day live event, Generational Wealth md.com/event, please feel free to go ahead and do that. If you have, I want you to show up live because we will be sharing tons of free resources during the event. I really want you to learn and interact. Okay, so the first step when you're thinking about investing, right, is going to be strategy, right? Strategy becomes super, super important. It is always going to be your first step. So I don't want you to listen to a colleague or listen to a friend who's investing in real estate and think that that is the only way to invest. Real estate investing is a spectrum, it is how you invest, I believe, should depend on your goals, right? And that's going to be different for everyone. This is very personalized. You may be someone who wants to invest in real estate because you want to have significant cash flow today. For some of our students, it's $20,000 a month in passive income within a few years. That's their goal. For some people, the tax savings can be super impactful, right? They want to shelter $500,000 of clinical income from taxes, and that's why they want to accelerate. For some people, it may be about generational wealth, right? They don't have a lot of time to spend today on building their portfolio. They need it to be super passive, but they want to build generational wealth over time, right? So really starting off with being very, very intentional about goal setting becomes critical over here. And what you also want to do is at this stage, this is where you think about how much time you have to spend in real estate, where you want to sit on that effort return spectrum, right? When if you put more time, invest more time into real estate, you can generate significantly higher returns, right? You also want to be intentional about how much capital you have to invest in real estate. You can invest in real estate with as little as I say even as little as $5,000, right? Little to no capital, and $50,000, that's a great place to start. But the strategy is going to be different for all of those things. So you need to pick a strategy that makes sense for you based on where you are today in terms of the time that you have available, in terms of the capital that you have available, in terms of where you see yourself on the risk return spectrum, right? So your strategy is going to differ based on all of those things. And you need to be very intentional about picking something that is aligned with your goals and resources. Now, the second step is going to be in picking your strategy is also going to be picking the market that you want to invest in, right? For many of you, that may be investing in your local market. For some of you, that may be investing out of state. I started investing out of state. The majority of my portfolio is out of state. And the reason to go out of state for a lot of us is because A, we may not be living in a very conducive market. I live in California. California is not very landlord friendly. You may want to move to a market where there's a lot of job growth, population growth, where the law is landlord friendly. That may be why you're investing out of state. For some of us, it may be because we live in a place where the numbers don't make sense. You cannot buy a property that's profitable, that is putting money in your pocket, and the down payments may be more than what you have available. So you may need to go out of state for that reason, right? So those are reasons you may want to invest out of state, but being very intentional about your market, picking the market that makes sense, that's going to be the second step in strategy. Okay, now we will deep dive into a lot of this during the 3-day event, but let's move on to implementation, right? Which is the next step in the 3-step framework. Once you know what your strategy is, you move on to implementation. Okay, so when we go to implementation, the first thing that you think of is going to be building your team. This is what you need to do. And so when I say building your team, it is finding an investor agent. This is not an agent who works with first-time home buyers. This is an agent who works specifically with investors who's going to help set you up for success, right? And then another key team member is going to be a property manager who is going to help you once you acquire the property, right? And a good investor agent is able to connect you to other parts of the of your team, to connect you with other team members who are going to be critical to you. During the live event, we're going to be handing out resources for team building, so make sure you hop on live. But team building is going to be the next big step as far as implementation. But then after you're done with building your team, you also need to know as an investor how to buy a property that you know is profitable. Now, a good investor agent is going to help you run numbers, but I always say you need to know how to do this yourself. So you are always running your numbers yourself, right? This is where we have a lot of free calculators in resources on our homepage, but we'll also be sharing this during the live event. You have to know how to run your numbers so that you can find properties. And I've seen this over and over again. I know a lot of physicians who purchase properties where they have to feed the property with $1,000 a month to pay the mortgage because the property isn't profitable or generating cash. And you're just hoping that over time the property appreciates, or after 30 years, you pay down the mortgage, or 15 years, you pay down the mortgage, and then it's suddenly cash flow positive. I don't want you to do that. I want you to buy an asset that is putting money in your pocket every day. So you really need to know how to run your numbers. Okay. Now, the other 3 parts of implementation, that is how after you acquire the property, you really need to know accounting. You really need to know how to keep your books. You need to know how to protect your properties, right? Asset protection. Do I create an LLC? Oh, when do I do that? What is the right time to do that, right? You need to have systems in place, especially if you're considering owning short-term rentals, so that you're not creating a job for yourself, but you're automating a lot of these things, okay? So that becomes part of what you need to do to set yourself up for success. So you aren't really creating a job, but you're also optimizing your portfolio and protecting it, okay? Now, the last step in real estate success is going to be momentum, okay? And for those of you starting out, you're probably thinking, do I really need to think about momentum now? And I say yes, because you don't need to know everything about generating momentum, but you need to keep it in your back pocket so that as you're building your strategy, as you're acquiring, you're always thinking about, okay, with real estate investing, your returns can be 20% annualized, right? Or they can be 200% annualized, right? And really compressing those timelines to get you to financial freedom faster depends on how you're able to tap into and add momentum to your strategy. A lot of you will do that with leverage. And again, you can get creative about this and really use it to amp up your portfolio. Some of you may consider doing rehabs and forcing appreciation, right? And this may not be with your first property. It could be with your second property. It could be with your third. You may start out doing it. We have a lot of students who start out buying short-term rentals, using it to shelter their W-2 income from taxes, rehabbing those properties so they're forcing appreciation rapidly, and using 10% down second home loans where they're really tapping into leverage to scale their portfolio. So you could be using momentum strategies in your first property. You could be using it on your third property like me, but I want you to know about it. For those of you who already have 4 properties and are saying, Param, how do I add momentum? This is how you do it. I'm going to go in depth during the 3-day live event. So show up live if you've signed up. If you haven't signed up, what are you waiting for? It's live, it's virtual. And for those of you who haven't downloaded the dashboard yet, please type dashboard in the comments and we will make sure we DM you the dashboard. The dashboard is super critical. It's where you have this actual framework where you can score yourself, where you can take notes so that you're building out your personalized roadmap, and you are also identifying the areas where you're weak so you can go ahead and really focus on those areas as you're starting or scaling your real estate portfolio. So I hope this was super helpful. And if you're looking for the dashboard, please type dashboard in comments.